At 64 years old, Michael J. Fox has finally revealed a truth he has kept to himself for decades. A truth so personal, so brutally honest, that it shocked even the people closest to him. A man who has inspired millions with his courage, his humor, and his relentless optimism, now opening the final chapter of his life with a confession no one expected. And it begins with one chilling declaration: "Here are the people I do not want at my funeral." As those words echoed, fans around the world fell silent. Who would Michael refuse on the most intimate day of his life? And more importantly, why? To understand the weight of that list, we must go back to where his story began, to the boy who grew up in a bustling Canadian household, surrounded by love, discipline, and constant movement, to the teenager who dreamed of hockey but discovered acting instead, and to the young man who would soon rise to become one of the most iconic stars of the 1980s, long before fate dealt him a devastating diagnosis that would alter his life forever. This is the journey that shaped Michael J. Fox, and it is only by retracing every step that we can understand the names he chose to exclude from the final goodbye. Joan Michael Andrew Fox was born on June 9, 1961, in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, into a home that was anything but quiet. He was the fourth child, surrounded by one brother and three sisters, all growing up in a household filled with noise, warmth, and constant activity. His father, William Fox, was a disciplined man, a police officer, and a proud member of the Canadian Forces. From him, Michael learned a structure, responsibility, and the grounded strength that would later help him survive Hollywood's fiercest storms. His mother, Phyllis, was the opposite kind of force: creative, expressive, resilient. A working actress and payroll clerk, she infused their home with imagination and emotional warmth. Between his father's discipline and his mother's creativity, Michael grew up balanced between order and inspiration, two forces that would define his entire career. But Michael's childhood was not stable. Because of his father's military service, the Fox family moved from city to city, year after year. Just when friendships began to form, or when life started to feel familiar, the family would pack up again and move on. These constant transitions shaped him, teaching him adaptability, observation, and the ability to slip into new environments, traits that would later make acting feel like a natural calling. It wasn't until 1971, when William Fox finally retired, that the family found their first true home, Burnaby, British Columbia, a quiet suburb of Vancouver. For the first time in his life, young Michael felt the grounding sense of community and stability that he had always longed for. During these early years, like many Canadian kids, Michael dreamed obsessively about ice hockey. For a time, he imagined himself skating under bright arena lights, wearing the jersey of an NHL team. But fate had other plans. His small stature stood in stark contrast to the rough, powerful world of professional hockey. And for the first time, reality forced him to look elsewhere, to discover other parts of himself that were waiting to emerge. And it began with music, then storytelling, then performance. Every step quietly nudged him toward acting, the path that would soon become his destiny. As Michael grew into his teenage years, something powerful awakened within him. He picked up a guitar, fell in love with music, explored visual arts, and discovered the thrill of performance. Slowly, the dream of being a hockey star faded, and the dream of becoming a storyteller began to take its place. At just 15 years old, Michael made a bold and life-changing decision. He stepped into the world of professional acting. He auditioned for the Canadian TV series Leo and Me, produced by the CBC, and despite being so young, his natural talent shone immediately. He earned the role, marking the very beginning of a career that would one day make him a global icon. From that moment forward, the stage was set. Michael dove into every opportunity he could find. Small theater roles, minor TV appearances, anything that allowed him to grow. He also worked on American film productions shot in Canada, giving him early exposure to Hollywood and its unique energy. These experiences sharpened his craft and prepared him for something far greater. Then came the turning point. At 18 years old, determined to chase the biggest dream of his life, Michael packed his bags and moved to Los Angeles. No fame, no connections, barely any money, just relentless drive. Hollywood was unforgiving. Audition after audition, rejection after rejection. Michael faced the harsh reality of the industry, but he never stopped pushing. His resilience kept him afloat when many would have turned back. And then the breakthrough arrived. In 1982, Michael was cast as Alex P. Keaton in NBC's Family Ties. This character, a sharp, ambitious, conservative young man, became an instant sensation. For 7 years, Michael lit up American living rooms. His performance earned 3 Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe, solidifying his place as one of the brightest stars on television. Around this time, he adopted the screen name Michael J. Fox, a small change that would eventually become one of the most recognizable names in Hollywood. But television success was only the beginning, because soon the entire world would come to know him as Marty McFly. Michael J. Fox was already a rising star, but in 1985, everything changed. That was the year he stepped into the role that would define an entire generation, Marty McFly in Back to the Future. The film was electrifying, an inventive mix of science fiction, heart, humor, and adventure. And at the center of it all was Michael, whose energy, comedic timing, and relatability made the character unforgettable. His chemistry with Christopher Lloyd, his youthful charisma, and his undeniable screen presence turned Marty McFly into a cultural phenomenon. The movie didn't just make him famous, it made him immortal. 2 sequels followed in 1989 and 1990, expanding the franchise and deepening its legacy. Even today, decades later, Back to the Future remains one of the most beloved trilogies in cinema history, largely because of Michael's performance. But he wasn't done. The 1980s became his era. He starred in Teen Wolf, 1985, a quirky, heartfelt look at adolescence. Then Light of Day, 1987, where he showcased his musical talents. Then The Secret of My Success, 1987, a comedic yet sharp take on ambition and corporate life. And Casualties of War, 1989, where he delivered a deeply emotional performance in a Vietnam War drama, proving he was far more than just a comedic actor. By the end of the decade, Michael J. Fox wasn't simply a star. He was a global icon, loved not just for his talent, but for the sincerity and humanity he brought to every role. But just when his career was reaching its greatest heights, life delivered a blow that could have ended everything. A diagnosis that changed the course of his life forever. Even as the world saw him as unstoppable, fate struck Michael J. Fox with a devastating truth, one that would test every ounce of strength he had. Michael was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a progressive neurological disorder that slowly robs the body of its control. For most people, such news would end a career instantly, But Michael was not like most people. Instead of disappearing, instead of retreating from the spotlight, he made a choice that stunned Hollywood. He kept going, he kept working, he kept fighting. He continued to star in films. Doc Hollywood, 1991, For Love or Money, 1993, Life with Mikey, 1993, Greedy, 1994, performances that showed both his professionalism and his refusal to surrender. Even under the strain of a debilitating illness, he still connected with audiences in a way few actors ever could. But television would once again become his home. In 1996, he reunited with Family Ties creator Gary David Goldberg for the hit sitcom Spin City. As the charming and quick-witted deputy mayor of New York, Michael proved he still possessed the same comedic brilliance that made fans fall in love with him years before. His timing, charisma, and emotional depth made the character unforgettable and reminded the world that his illness could limit his body but not his talent. Around this period, Michael also made his final major theatrical film appearance in Peter Jackson's The Frighteners, 1996, a role praised for blending humor, suspense, and vulnerability. He later lent his voice to beloved family films like Homeward Bound, Stuart Little, and Atlantis, The Lost Empire, further cementing his legacy across generations. Even as symptoms worsened, he continued making acclaimed guest appearances on series such as Scrubs, Boston Legal, Rescue Me, and The Good Wife, earning multiple Emmy nominations, proving that Parkinson's could challenge him, but it could never define him. And behind the scenes, a new chapter was unfolding, one marked not by cameras, but by courage, reflection, and raw honesty. While Michael's professional life was filled with triumphs and battles, his personal life held something even deeper, a love story that survived fame, illness, and time itself. On July 16, 1988, Michael J. Fox married Tracy Pollan, his talented and compassionate co-star from Family Ties. Their romance had blossomed quietly on set, beginning not with glamour, but with genuine connection. Two actors discovering understanding and warmth in each other's presence. In a world where Hollywood relationships often fade as quickly as they begin, theirs endured stronger with every passing year. Together, Michael and Tracy built a vibrant, loving family, 4 children, raised not in the chaos of fame, but in the stability of laughter, creativity, and unwavering support. Tracy became Michael's rock, especially after his Parkinson's diagnosis, standing beside him through the darkest storms and the brightest victories. Their marriage became a symbol of resilience, a testament to love that does not falter even when the world shifts beneath your feet. Beyond acting, Michael found another way to tell his story. Through his writing, he authored 3 deeply personal and inspiring books: Lucky Man, 2002, an intimate memoirs of his rise to fame and his earliest struggle with Parkinson's; Always Looking Up, 2009, a reflection on optimism, gratitude, and living with courage in the face of adversity. A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Future, 2010, a blend of humor and wisdom for anyone navigating life's uncertainty. Through these books, the world saw a different side of Michael, not just the actor or the icon, but the man who found strength in vulnerability and purpose in pain. But even as he became an advocate, a symbol of hope, and a voice for millions battling Parkinson's, Michael remained deeply private about one thing: his final wishes and the people he did not want at his funeral. Until now, at 64, Michael J. Fox finally broke his silence on a topic far more intimate than any movie role: any diagnosis, or any public battle he had ever faced. With a mixture of honesty, humor, and surprising bluntness, he revealed the names of the people he does not want at his funeral, and each name carried a story, a boundary, and a reason shaped by decades in Hollywood. Leah Thompson, a brilliant co-star, but a complicated history. Michael began with Leah Thompson, his beloved co-star from the Back to the Future trilogy. Fans remembered their chemistry on a screen as magical, but behind the scenes, things were not always as smooth. There were moments when we clashed, he admitted. Creative tensions lingered, subtle but unresolved, and when it comes to his final farewell, he wants zero awkwardness, not even a hint. So despite years of working together, Michael gently but firmly placed Leah on the not invited list. Patricia Heaton, a respectful distance. Next was Patricia Heaton. Michael spoke of her with kindness, admiring her talent and professionalism, but confessed that the two never formed a genuine personal bond. She's great, he explained, but she's not someone who walked with me through life. For Michael, funerals aren't about public image, they're about authenticity, and Patricia, though respected, simply wasn't part of his inner world. 3. Quentin Tarantino, too much intensity. When he mentioned Quentin Tarantino, Michael smiled, but his reasoning was crystal clear. Quentin is brilliant, he said, but funerals are not the place for heavy debates or cinematic philosophies. Michael envisioned peace, stillness, and emotional clarity, not Tarantino's fierce intellectual energy filling the room. So Quentin, despite being an artistic powerhouse, was politely kept off the list. 4. Johnny Depp, a magnetic yet unpredictable presence. Johnny Depp, a man as eccentric as he is talented, was next. Michael acknowledged Depp's originality, but admitted that his energy could be disruptive. Unpredictable stories, flamboyant moments, a kind of whirlwind vibe, none of which fit the intimate, quiet farewell Michael envisioned. So with humor and respect, he suggested Johnny skip the event entirely. 5. George Clooney, too charming for his own good. The last name shocked many, George Clooney, not because of conflict, but because Clooney's charisma is simply too strong. George lights up every room, Michael said, but my funeral isn't a networking event. Even admiration has boundaries. And in a moment meant for silence, reflection, and intimate love, Michael feared George's charm might unintentionally shift attention away from what truly mattered. Each name on the list wasn't about anger, far from it. It was about emotional clarity, personal boundaries, and the profound desire for a farewell filled only with the people who walked beside him through the hardest, most sacred chapters of his life. Through this honesty, Michael invited the world to consider something deeper, who truly belongs in the most intimate moments of our lives, and who we keep at a respectful distance. Michael J. Fox has spent his entire life under the bright, relentless glare of public attention. From the moment he became Marty McFly, the world watched his every move, his fame, his triumphs, his illness, his courage. But in revealing the names of those he does not want at his funeral, he showed something the world rarely sees: his boundaries, his emotional truth, his desire for peace. For Michael, the list was not born from resentment or bitterness. It came from clarity, an understanding of who truly shaped his life, who held space in his heart, and who walked beside him through the darkest storms. Each name he excluded carried a story, a lesson, a quiet acknowledgement that not every connection is meant to follow us to the final chapter, And through that honesty, Michael offered something surprisingly universal. We live surrounded by countless people, co-workers, acquaintances, collaborators, admirers, critics. But in life's most sacred moments, only a few truly matter. Michael's reflections remind us that we are allowed to choose who holds space in our final moments, just as we choose who holds space in our heart. His courage, humor, and wisdom shine through this revelation, not as a star, not as an icon, but as a man who has lived, suffered, loved, and learned. At 64, Michael J. Fox continues to inspire not because his life has been perfect, but because he has embraced its imperfections with grace. His final wishes reflect a lifetime spent navigating authenticity in a world obsessed with appearances. He leaves us with a quiet, powerful message. Protect your peace. Honor your journey. Choose your people carefully. And live your truth boldly, right until the very end.